If you walk past an Amish home at sunrise, it may look quiet. A horse in the lane, laundry moving in the wind, a garden already awake before the rest of the world. But inside that calm, something remarkable is happening. Because an Amish household is not just a family home. In many cases, it functions like a tiny economy. Work, food, education, childcare, elder care, repair, production, savings, even informal insurance. So many of the systems that modern society pushes out into markets, offices, schools, and institutions are pulled back into the orbit of family and community. And that changes everything. What makes this so fascinating is not that Amish life is frozen in time. It isn't. In fact, many Amish communities have adapted in surprisingly practical ways. But they've done it while trying to protect something modern life often struggles to keep: a household where people still depend on one another every single day. To understand how Amish families work together like a small economy, you have to begin with a simple idea. In much of modern life, the family is mostly a place where income is spent. In Amish life, the family has traditionally also been a place where value is made. That difference sounds small, but it reshapes the rhythm of everyday existence. In a modern suburban household, adults often leave home to earn money somewhere else. Children leave for school. Food comes from stores. Clothing comes from brands. Repairs are outsourced. Care for the elderly may eventually move into a facility. The household is a center of consumption, connected to a much larger system outside it. In many Amish homes, especially in more traditional settings, that pattern works differently. Home, school, farm, workshop, and family labor are tightly connected. The household is not only consuming, it is producing. Producing food, producing skilled labor, producing furniture, quilts, crops, baked goods, or construction work. Producing the next generation of workers, parents, and church members. Even when Amish families are no longer living purely from farming, many still try to keep work physically and socially close to home, because distance can weaken the family unit they're trying to preserve. Source. And that is where the story really begins. The household as the center of life. For generations, the Amish family farm was more than a way to earn a living. It was a machine for organizing life itself. Not a machine in the industrial sense, but a human one. The farm gave each person a role. Men handled heavy field labor, livestock, equipment, and finances. Women managed food, laundry, children, gardening, preserving, and household order. Children entered the rhythm early, not as symbolic helpers, but as real contributors whose labor mattered. That doesn't mean every family looked identical, and it definitely doesn't mean Amish life should be romanticized. The work was hard. The days were long. Gender roles were traditionally defined, and not everyone would want that structure. But inside that structure, the household had coherence. Everyone knew what needed to be done, and everyone understood that survival was shared. This is one reason farming held such deep cultural meaning. It was not just about crops. It was about proximity. A father could work near his sons. A mother could teach daughters in the flow of real daily tasks. Children saw adult work up close instead of imagining it through job titles. The family stayed economically interdependent. And when labor happens close to home, something subtle changes. Work is no longer abstract. You can see the milk being collected, the bread being baked, the harness being fixed, the tomatoes being canned, the clothes being sewn, the firewood being stacked. In that setting, production becomes visible. Children grow up understanding, almost physically, how life is maintained. That may be one of the most powerful differences between the Amish household economy and the modern one. In much of the modern world, the systems that keep us alive are hidden. We see receipts, not processes. In Amish life, many of those processes remain in plain sight. But that was only part of the story. Because the Amish family economy is not built only on labor. It is built on formation. Why children are drawn into the system so early. One of the most misunderstood parts of Amish life is education. Outsiders often focus on what Amish children do not do. They usually do not continue formal schooling past the 8th grade. They do not enter the familiar ladder of high school, college, credentials, and careers. But if you want to understand Amish family economics, The more revealing question is what children are being prepared for instead. Amish education is designed around participation. Children attend community-run one-room schools, where the curriculum emphasizes reading, writing, spelling, geography, practical math, and both English and German. But education does not end with schoolwork. In Amish thought, classroom learning is only part of becoming an adult. The rest comes through doing. Boys help in the fields, barn, or shop. Girls help in the kitchen, laundry, garden, and household routines. Skills are learned not in simulation, but in the actual economy of the home. That has consequences. It means children are not merely being supervised until adulthood. They are being integrated into a functioning social and economic world. By the time an Amish teenager is older, many practical tasks that would intimidate a modern adult are already normal. Handling animals, preserving food, repairing tools, serving customers, caring for younger siblings, understanding that work is not something you eventually enter, but something you gradually inherit. And yes, there is a cost to that model too. It narrows certain paths. It places less emphasis on formal academic specialization. It assumes that adulthood will happen inside a specific moral and communal framework. But from the Amish point of view, that is the point. Education is meant to protect the community by preparing children for membership within it, not for departure from it. So when an Amish child learns practical math, that is not just school. It may be preparation for inventory, budgeting, farm measurements, or household management. When a child learns discipline, punctuality, and cooperation, those are not soft values floating above economic life. They are essential to the family economy itself. And this is where things become even more interesting. Because in a small economy, not all labor is counted equally. Some of the most important work is also the easiest to overlook. The invisible engine inside the home. When people picture Amish labor, they often imagine plows, barns, sawdust, and blacksmith sparks. The visible work. The physically dramatic work. But the Amish household has always depended just as heavily on the labor that happens indoors, quietly, over and over again. Cooking for large families. Sewing and mending. Gardening. Canning. Childcare. Cleaning. Hospitality. Planning meals around what is available. Managing laundry without the convenience systems most people depend on. Preparing for church gatherings, weddings, or community workdays. These are not side activities. In many households, they are the infrastructure that makes every other form of work possible. Amish women traditionally devote themselves to housekeeping and motherhood, though the reality is more nuanced than the stereotype. In some homes, women run small stores, bakeries, greenhouses, or home-based businesses. In others, husbands and wives share certain duties more flexibly, especially when work is based at home. But across that variety, the pattern is clear. The home is not a passive domestic space. It is an active economic center, and women's labor is central to its survival. In modern economies, a great deal of domestic work has been outsourced, commercialized, or hidden from view. Daycare replaces a parent's time. Restaurants replace meal production. Delivery services replace transport. Care facilities replace multi-generational living. Tailors, cleaners, mechanics, and supermarkets take over tasks once done inside the household. That can create convenience, but it also makes the family less economically self-contained. The Amish household pushes in the opposite direction. It tries to keep as many functions as possible near home and under family control. Not because every old method is inherently better, but because dependence on outside systems can reshape values. The more you outsource, the less the household needs one another. And the less it needs one another, the weaker the internal economy becomes. That is one reason Amish life can look slow from the outside. But slowness is sometimes the visible form of closeness. Before we go further, it's worth pausing on something important. The Amish are not one uniform group. Different affiliations and settlements vary in technology rules, occupations, and lifestyle. Some are more conservative, some more adaptive. Some still center heavily on farming, while others have moved deeply into business. So when we talk about the Amish family economy, we are describing a broad pattern, not a single template. And that brings us to the biggest shift of all. from fields to workshops. For many people, the word Amish still conjures one dominant image: the family farm. And historically, that image made sense. Farming offered exactly what Amish communities valued: a way of life rooted in land, family cooperation, self-sufficiency, and limited contact with the outside world. But over time, reality changed. Amish populations grew. Farmland became more expensive. Available land became harder to secure. In many places, farming alone could no longer absorb the next generation. That pressure created what some researchers have described as a major economic transformation. Many Amish moved toward cottage industries, woodworking, small manufacturing, construction crews, repair work, and retail. In places like Lancaster County and Holmes County, this shift has been profound. Scholars have even described it as a kind of Amish mini-industrial revolution. At first glance, that may sound like the breakdown of the traditional family economy. But in many cases, it was actually an attempt to preserve it. This is the subtle genius of Amish adaptation. Instead of simply sending everyone into anonymous wage labor, many communities favored forms of business that stayed close to home. Small shops beside the house, family-owned furniture businesses, construction crews made up of relatives and neighbors, retail spaces tied to local production. This allowed families to earn cash in a changing economy without fully surrendering the household as the center of work. That phrase cash is important, because even a self-reliant family still needs money. Land must be purchased. Materials must be bought. Medical costs still arrive. Taxes still exist. Tools wear out. A family economy does not float outside the market. It negotiates with it constantly. The Amish have not escaped economics. They have simply tried to shape it around family and faith rather than letting the market define everything. And yet, adaptation comes with trade-offs. Successful businesses can create inequality. Some scholars note that the move away from farming has challenged the older image of Amish economic sameness. As businesses prosper and land values rise, differences in wealth can become more visible. Researchers in Ohio have pointed to a more unequal distribution of income and land than the outside myth of Amish uniformity would suggest. That does not mean Amish communities have become modern capitalist clones. Far from it. But it does mean the family economy is not static. It is under pressure, and success itself can create tension. What makes this even more interesting is that Amish communities often saw factory labor as especially risky, not only because of technology or outside influence, but because of what it could do to the family structure. Some describe the fear of men leaving daily with a lunch pail to work in distant settings where family rhythms and communal boundaries would weaken. So the rise of home-adjacent businesses was not just an economic move. It was a social defense strategy. In other words, the economy changed, but the deeper goal stayed the same. Keep work near home. Keep family interdependent. Keep the household meaningful. The community as a second layer of the economy. If the Amish family is a small economy, then the church community is something like the wider market, welfare system, labor exchange, and emergency fund wrapped around it. This is where the story becomes larger than one household. Amish life is famous for scenes like barn raisings, and for good reason. They are one of the clearest symbols of cooperative labor in American life. A barn that would take enormous money and logistics in the modern world can be raised by a coordinated flood of neighbors in a single day. Men build. Women prepare food. Children observe and absorb the pattern. It is labor, yes, but it is also a statement. No family survives alone. Source. But mutual aid goes far beyond barns. When a family faces fire, flood, illness, or an overwhelming medical bill, Amish communities often respond through church-based giving, special offerings, auctions, bake sales, and practical help. Because many Amish do not participate in commercial insurance in the usual way, community support becomes part of their internal economic system. An injured farmer may find neighbors harvesting his crops. A family moving homes may find dozens of hands carrying furniture. Adult siblings may gather for shared workdays that blend labor and companionship. Even schoolhouses are cleaned and maintained through parent cooperation. That matters because it changes the meaning of risk. In modern life, risk is often individualized. If you lose your job, get sick, or face a crisis, Your household may stand exposed unless some formal institution catches you. In Amish life, the family is buffered by a dense social network of obligation and reciprocity. Help is expected, but so is future participation. This is not charity in the detached sense. It is a long-term system of mutual dependence. And systems like that do something modern institutions struggle to do. They tie material survival to social belonging. That can be beautiful. It can also be demanding. Mutual aid works because people know one another, monitor one another, and remain accountable to shared norms. The same closeness that provides support also carries pressure. So the Amish community economy is not simply freedom from the outside world. It is a trade, less isolation in exchange for less individual independence. Still, there is something undeniably powerful about an economy where care is not merely purchased, but organized through relationships. And maybe that is why Amish population growth has remained so strong. According to the Young Center's 2025 profile, the Amish population in North America is estimated at more than 410,000, with growth driven largely by relatively large families and high retention rates. Their population has more than doubled over the last few decades, and new settlements continue to form. That kind of growth suggests that, for many within the community, the system still feels viable enough to sustain. But a small economy is not only about raising children. It is also about what happens when people grow old. How elder care stays inside the household. One of the clearest signs that Amish families function like small economies is what they do with age. In much of the modern world, old age often means institutional transfer. Care moves outward, first to professionals, then sometimes to facilities. But in Amish communities, the elderly commonly remain close to family. They may live in an apartment attached to a child's home or in a small nearby dwelling, sometimes called a grossdaughty house. Rather than being removed from family life, elders often remain woven into it, helping where they can, offering guidance, and living among grandchildren. That arrangement is emotionally meaningful, but it is also economically significant. When care stays close to home, the household once again takes on functions that modern society has externalized. The family becomes not just a unit of child rearing, but a long-term care system across generations. Older people are not only dependents. They are also memory keepers, moral authorities, and practical helpers within the living fabric of the household. This is one reason Amish families often feel less like isolated nuclear units and more like branches of an extended production and care network. Siblings remain important. In-laws matter. Grandparents matter. The family is not a temporary private arrangement between parents and children. It is a durable structure that stretches across time. And because that structure is so strong, the Amish household does not only pass down assets. It passes down ways of life. Recipes, skills, land habits, religious expectations, work ethic, reputation, the logic of when to spend and when to save, how to host, how to endure, how to show up when somebody's barn burns or a relative falls ill. Those things do not appear on an income statement. But without them, the economy would collapse. The moral rules behind the money. There is another layer to all of this, and it may be the most important one. Amish families do not work like small economies simply because they are efficient. In many cases, they are not efficient by modern standards at all. They are labor-intensive, time-consuming, sometimes deliberately resistant to convenience. So if efficiency is not the main goal, what is? The answer lies partly in the ordnung, the unwritten code that shapes Amish daily life. Different communities interpret it differently, but in general it exists to protect values like humility, separation from the wider world, family cohesion, and community stability. Limits on technology are not random quirks. They are often attempts to ask whether a tool will pull people closer together or further apart. That question lands directly on economics. Will this machine save labor, or will it reduce the need for family cooperation? Will this car create opportunity, or will it scatter the household? Will this job bring income, or will it erode community life? Will this business strengthen the family, or quietly place competition and status above equality? These are not easy questions, and Amish communities do not always answer them the same way. But they ask them more explicitly than most of modern society does. In the modern world, Economic decisions are often judged first by price, speed, and personal freedom. In Amish life, those things may matter, but they are not the highest test. The deeper test is whether a change serves the moral ecology of the family and church. That does not make Amish economics pure, or simple, or conflict-free. It simply means the economy is still under moral supervision. And that may be the rarest part of all. What this system gives, and what it asks in return. By now, it might be tempting to reduce Amish life to a lesson for the modern world. To say they have found the answer. But that would flatten the truth. The Amish household economy offers real strengths: resilience, practical skill, interdependence, lower reliance on outside systems, continuity between generations, and a deep sense that each person's work matters. It can produce people who know how to build, fix, preserve, endure, and contribute. It can reduce loneliness by making people needed. But it also asks a great deal. It asks for conformity. It asks for submission to communal expectations. It asks people to accept limits on individual ambition. It preserves traditional gender roles that many outsiders would question. And as Amish businesses grow and outside pressures increase, it faces new strains from inequality, land scarcity, and cultural change. So the real story is not that Amish families are somehow untouched by modern economics. It is that they are trying, in real time, to keep economics from dissolving the family. That is a very different ambition. In most of the modern world, the household has slowly been stripped of its economic functions. Production moved out. Schooling moved out. Care moved out. Repair moved out. Worship often moved out. Meals became faster. Time became fragmented. People became more independent, but also more structurally alone. The Amish, imperfectly and with many tensions of their own, have resisted that unraveling. They have kept more of life under one roof, or at least within one community orbit. And because of that, an Amish family can still look less like a private lifestyle choice and more like a working system. A small economy with a moral center. A place where labor is visible. A place where children are trained into usefulness. A place where old age still belongs somewhere. A place where the household is not only where love is felt, but where life is organized. And maybe that is why Amish life continues to hold such a strange power over the modern imagination. Not because it is simple, not because it is easy, but because it forces a question many people can feel, even if they never say it out loud. What happens to a society when families stop needing each other? That question lingers long after the image of the buggy disappears down the road. Because beneath the plain clothing and quiet routines is a much bigger idea. One that reaches far beyond the Amish world. That a family can be more than an emotional unit. It can be an economic one. A training ground. A welfare system. A school. A workshop. A memory bank. A safety net. A future. And once you see that, Amish life stops looking like a relic from the past. It starts looking like an alternative answer to a modern problem. If you enjoyed this documentary, subscribe for more thoughtful stories about hidden systems, overlooked cultures, and the ways people build meaning in everyday life.